Hello, everyone. Welcome to the latest episode of Chris McDaniel's America. I'm Jack Fairchilds filling in for Chris today. He unfortunately is working away, so we aren't able to have Chris with us. I know we tried to see if we could set up a way to get him to Zoom in. We were hoping, especially in light of yesterday's news. But I do welcome back a good friend, my boss, Jim Cegelski. I know that sounds weird when I say that to you. But Jim, I'm glad to have you back. It's been a while since you've been on with me. So welcome back.
I'm honored to be here on this day in particular.
Well, this is one of those episodes I knew I couldn't do alone. Yesterday I saw when the news came through, a friend text, "Have y'all seen this?" The first video of what turned out to be the assassination of Turning Point CEO and founder Charlie Kirk, conservative icon, is the best way to describe a guy who loved to debate. I think that's the thing here. He loved to go into hostile territory and talk to anyone. He didn't have to agree with you, but he could sit down and have a conversation with you. And sadly, we need more people like that, not less. And yesterday, there in Utah at the campus of Utah Valley University, he was shot and killed for his political beliefs. I mean, there's no other way to describe it. We don't have all the details on because they have not caught the assassin yet, but this was a politically motivated assassination. You won't convince me any other way. And Charlie Kirk was one of those individuals who had sparked something in young people by being willing to go on these college campuses, a place that isn't necessarily friendly to conservatives. He was willing to go on there with his live mic and invite anyone to come up and offer a counter opinion to him or agree with him, whatever you chose to do when you came to the front of the stage. I was a big fan of watching Charlie Kirk's videos. They were very entertaining. I even did an entire episode of the Right Side Radio Show based on his take that college is a scam. I thought that was a fascinating take and did some research on his writings and asked some questions myself based on what he was pointing out. He was only 31. He was an old soul for a young man. He started doing this at 17, 18 years old. At 18 is when he actually started his company that is, now a political force. It's something I don't have the words for. I still am in shock by what we witnessed yesterday. The first video we saw, of course, is from a distance. You're questioning, you're hoping. Then, of course, and there's the video everybody's talked about that was much closer, one that was sent to me, Jim, and I shared with you. As a matter of fact, I'm the one who let you know he had been shot.
I didn't know what had happened until you sent it to me, Jack.
What was your first thoughts, Jim, when you saw my text?
I was horrified. Listen, I think Charlie Kirk was the best and brightest. There's a whole bunch of people that do what we do. Obviously, a lot more successful podcasts out there than Chris McDaniel's America. But there's no one that had more influence than Charlie Kirk. He was not just the youngest person out there doing this. He was the brightest. Yeah. Didn't attend college. And you know what? That was the right move.
It was.
I mean, more people need to not attend college at this point. But he would go on to college campuses. Even when he was 18, 19 years old, he'd go on to college campuses and debate those kids that were on there that were getting indoctrinated with liberal views, and he would win those. And that's why he was assassinated. They couldn't beat him in a debate, so they killed him. And that's what happened here. But Charlie Kirk was destined to be the president of the United States one day. And it's such a sad event that has occurred here, because that man was already great, and I can't imagine what we're going to miss out because we don't get to see how the rest of his life played out.
A good Christian man at that. And if there's anything we can take solace in, is knowing his soul was saved.
There's no doubt that he's in Jesus's arms today. I mean, I think the last question he got to answer in full before he was killed was about his faith in Jesus. And he was not ashamed to talk about it. And I don't know if you have not used to watching Charlie Kirk, go in on YouTube and watch his videos. The man was just a happy debater, and was always pleasant. He never made the other side look foolish or anything. I mean, they made themselves look foolish talking to him. Yeah, but he never did it.
No, he
was always nice to everybody. Just a really good-hearted young man who was a genius.
Yeah, I mean, I just, knowing married, 2 kids, I mean, knowing that those children are going to grow up without their father. I mean, all they're going to get is stories. Now, those stories are going to be spectacular because he touched a lot of people. There are a lot of folks out there, but it doesn't replace having your dad. No. I mean, it doesn't. And I think that's where this hits harder for me, is I just think about that. To me, it just really hits me hard because we all have seen the pictures of him holding his 2 kids, and they're very young, and it really, the fact that a deranged lunatic can go up on a roof at a university and end this man's life merely because of a political difference. It just is shocking. It's frustrating. We're going to talk about what that means to us as conservatives, as outspoken conservatives, and what it needs to mean to us. Because Jim, I can tell you this, I'm not backing down. The one thing that I took away from this is my voice doesn't need to be silent. It needs to be louder. I need to be one of those voices, because Charlie wouldn't have backed down. And I don't think any of us, if you're a conservative, if you're a conservative activist, if you have your own conservative show, no matter how big or small, don't stop. You have to keep the fight moving forward, because silence is what they want.
Yeah, the problem is here, I don't think any conservative activists or podcasters are going to stop talking. What we need to have happen, and for Charlie's death to be meaningful, is regular conservative people who are quiet. They're scared to speak out. They're just scared to speak the truth. Charlie was described as an extremist. There's nothing extreme about thinking that the border does not need to be open. I mean, that's sane. That's not extreme. There's nothing extreme about saying there's 2 sexes, a man and a woman. That's not extreme. And I'm pretty sure, based on what we're learning, that's the reason Charlie was killed, because he thought there was 2 sexes. And he's been portrayed as an extremist. Well, we're all, if you're just a normal, everyday, average American with common sense, then we're all extremists.
Absolutely. And it's one of those things where, again, silence is what they want. Silence is not what they're going to get. As a matter of fact, they might have awoken a stronger voice, because I think more folks that were less likely to speak out now, because they've witnessed such a horrific event, want to speak out. I think one of the things that struck me that Chris posted yesterday, and I'm going to read it here. This is one of his posts on social media. He said, "There are those of us who desire unity. We reach for it, we pray for it, hope for it, because we know that a divided people cannot long endure. But what happens when conservatives no longer turn the other cheek? That is what our opponents should fear. For too long, they have mistaken our patience for weakness, our silence for surrender. They forget that deep in the marrow of this land runs a stubborn spirit, the same spirit that stood at Concord Bridge, that marched through pine woods of Mississippi, that held fast when everything else was crumbling. Thomas Paine told us that tyranny, like hell, is not easily conquered. He was right then, and he is right now. We may be pressed, we may be mocked, but we are not broken. And when we stand together, shoulder to shoulder, our cause becomes larger than any one of us. This is not a call for division, but a reminder that unity among conservatives is not just hope, it's a force. Because freedom is not theirs to give, nor ours to beg. It's ours to defend, and defend it we will.
That's why Chris McDaniel is who he is, because of eloquent words like that.
Yeah. He can't be here, so I mean, I felt like we needed to share something.
Yeah, no, that's he has a way with putting stuff into sentences that make a lot of sense, make you feel proud to be conservative, and I got to be honest with you, I'm proud that Chris McDaniel hosts this show every week, and in his place that you're hosting it. So, the thing about Charlie Kirk that I hope he gets the credit for, and I think it's important that he does, is he has changed the country. Young people were all going left.
Yeah.
And Charlie Kirk, he made a 20-point swing in young people, and it most likely got Donald Trump elected and saved this country. He is a hero. He should be remembered as a hero. I know that Trump's going to give him the Presidential Medal of Freedom, but he deserves a statue. He deserves every honor that the man can get, because I don't know that anyone influenced the last election, and saved the country more than him. I always put Elon Musk up there with that, but I don't know that anyone was more important than Charlie Kirk.
I tend to agree with that. His reach to the young people, his ability to communicate and not just debate with young people, but win those debates, but do it in a way that it spoke to his charisma, and a charisma that you don't normally find in someone that young, because, and I'm not talking about 31 young. I'm talking about when he started out. To be able to go on Fox News and other outlets and be able to stand toe-to-toe with anyone. He was able to do that at a young age, and it's because he had a thirst for knowledge. He was willing to crack open any book, including the books of those that he disagreed with.
I mean, the only person I know of that can debate like Charlie Kirk is J.D. Vance. Mm-hmm. I mean, those two in a debate head to head, I don't know who would have won that debate. Mm-hmm. But really, the one of the things, and you touched on this earlier, one of the things that set Charlie Kirk apart from everybody else who does this is he was the only person going into the lion's den. He was directly going head to head with his opponents. He was debating them, as opposed to most of us, we talk in an echo chamber where we're basically preaching to the choir. That wasn't Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk was putting himself out there, and ultimately it obviously got himself killed, but it was brave. It was needed. He was battling against colleges that are leaned so far left that they were ruining the country. And so Charlie Kirk was needed at a time in history. And, I really do believe that God put him here for that reason. And maybe God took him away for a reason.
I hope there's a reason. It seems senseless today. And we're not going to be able to tell you that reason without any doubt. Of course, we've seen now images of the alleged assassin. It looks like you can see why he would blend in with college students based on the images that have been released. He looks of college age, as they've said. So they say it was a bolt action rifle that he was shot with, that they found in a wooded area. I think that they have been going through doorbell surveillance of a neighborhood adjacent to the college because they think that he ran through said neighborhood. I have also seen experts that say that, because again, some folks, you know how it goes. Anytime something like this happens, a conspiracy theorist mind jumps in. They're saying there's no way. They don't see this as a professional hit because of A, the timing that it happened, and B, how many mistakes they view that this assassin made. So with that said, we hope that he's going to be found soon. There's a report from the Wall Street Journal that suggested that ammunition found by the rifle believed to be the assassins were engraved with transgender messages.
Multiple sources are reporting that, so I'm pretty sure that is accurate.
Yeah.
And there was, transgender and anti-fascist messages on the gun and the ammunition. And that makes sense to me. It makes sense that it's somebody that was indoctrinated in the fact that they believe that the right is fascist and that we are all anti-transgender and we deserve to die. Yeah. I mean, I've been writing this, Jack, you know this, that how do we deal with people that want us dead? Yeah. And they proved that I was correct when I wrote that yesterday.
And to give credit, I think the first person that reported that about the engraving in the bullets was Steven Crowder, conservative commentator himself. He wrote on there, he put out that this morning my team received an email from an officer at the ATF. The email included a screenshot from what appears to be an internal message describing weapons and cartridges located by the ATF. They say that the engravings on them, as you said, expressing transgender and anti-fascist ideology. Let me ask you this, Jim, serious question. How are you an anti-fascist if you're silencing free speech? If your whole idea to combat against somebody who speaks a different opinion than you is to kill them, you're the fascist.
Absolutely. I've been writing about that as well. They don't actually realize what freedom is. They don't realize what this country was built on. They're anti-First Amendment. The only reason to kill a Charlie Kirk is to shut him up because you don't like the First Amendment. That makes you the fascist. But they don't seem to get that through their head. And I have a question for you, Jack. If this turns out to be another transgender person who's done this killing, there was just a recent school shooting where a transgender person killed multiple school children. I believe there's been a number of transgender people with mass shootings lately. What's the solution to this? Is it possible that the medication that these people are getting put on is causing their insanity, or are they insane because they think they're transgender? But this is becoming a real nightmare situation for our country that obviously we can't keep putting up with transgender people killing people.
I think, and I talked about this on the right side after the shooting in Minnesota that you referenced, I think it's time that we start, again, left always wants to focus on guns after anything. Matter of fact, they're trying to politicize Charlie Kirk's assassination by saying we need to go after guns. More gun control wouldn't have prevented this, because a crazy person that wants to shoot somebody from a distance would have found a gun and would have done it.
Has anti-drug policies stop drugs from happening? No. People will go get illegal guns if they want to kill somebody, or they'll run them over with their car. Yeah.
Has it stopped anything in Chicago, where they have the most strict gun laws in the country? Again, if it's working, then I invite you to go over to the South Side at night and just wander around willy-nilly. Yeah. I'm sure that'll work out well for you.
Yes.
But this is always their MO. But the one thing nobody wants to talk about, and I mentioned this on that episode, is a mental health crisis in this country. This whole idea of telling people to live their truth. You know what? You grew up a boy, but you want to be a girl. That's fine. Knock yourself out. Go live your truth. It's not working because their truth is not reality. And the fact that we're signing off on this, whether it's the hormone drugs or a deeper rooted mental health issue, it used to be considered a mental health issue. Now, look, and I've said this before, Jim, I know you agree with this. If you want to live your life how you want to, as long as it doesn't affect me, I'm okay with it.
As long as you're an adult and you're not hurting anyone else, I don't care. But it's becoming quite apparent that there is a bunch of transgender people whose goal is to hurt people.
Yes.
And you know, I don't know for a fact that this was a transgender person that killed Charlie Kirk, but there's a lot of things pointing that direction. And we do know for a fact that transgender people have been involved in a lot of mass shootings lately.
It's an interesting dilemma, but I mean, why is it so hard to talk about mental health? Why can't we dive into the mental health crisis in this country? And part of the problem nowadays, and we see it right here in our hometowns, where you see folks that used to would have maybe gone to a mental institution, gotten help. Maybe if they weren't able to live on the streets themselves and go back out into society, they stayed there. We don't do that anymore because we are so afraid of feelings. But meanwhile, we'll put that person out on the street and he's not able to provide for himself. He's not able. So he runs around as a homeless person now because he's not able to get the help that he needs.
One of the few mistakes Ronald Reagan made during his presidency, and I think it was at the urging of Nancy, was get rid of insane asylums. What should have happened was they should have fixed insane asylums. Yeah. They should have made them better. They were cruel institutions. Yes. And I get the reason that they wanted to do away with them. But by doing away with them, you put a lot of crazy homeless people on the street, like the person who stabbed that girl in that Charlotte train. That's a crazy homeless person that should have been institutionalized.
Yeah.
And it's happening all over in all of our major cities. There is homicidal crazy people running around in our country, and we have to have a place to put them. If we don't want to put them in jail or execute them, then we have to have some other place to get them off the street to protect innocent citizens. And it's something, for some reason, our politicians don't want to address it. Democrat politicians certainly don't want to address it. They love the homeless for some reason. They want people. They want homeless encampments in their cities. They have pushed for it, but it has led to death, destruction, robberies, rapes, and innocent victims, thousands of them each year. And we have to address that problem.
Absolutely. You know, and I think it's time to start having that conversation, because you want to point to guns, but you don't want to talk about that issue alone. And I'm not saying that if we had mental institutions, it would end all these mass shootings or things like that, but it probably would reduce the numbers because some of these folks would not be on the streets.
It would not only reduce the numbers, it would dramatically decrease the numbers, because listen, the guy that on the Charlotte train was described as a schizophrenic. The guy that Daniel Penny tackled on the subway to save those people was described as a schizophrenic. Yeah. Schizophrenia used to be a treatable disease in a mental institution. I mean, this is a much bigger problem than we even can imagine. I mean, we've got to address it. I think Trump brought it up recently, and I think there might be a movement towards, bringing insane asylums, mental institutions, whatever you want to call them. And you can make them as good as we possibly can make them, but we have to go ahead and make that move to do it.
Absolutely. And I'm going to save more of a conversation on the train stabbing, for later in the show. You wrote a brilliant column on it that will be in tomorrow or in Saturday's Leader Call edition that I've already had the privilege to already have read, and I definitely encourage folks on Saturday to check out Jim's column. It's really good on that particular topic. But I want to get back a little bit more into the Charlie Kirk stuff, because one of the other things, the other flip side of this that is equally disgusting, and I would argue shows a mental illness in itself, is the reactions we've seen from the left. Whether it's the now fired former MSNBC commentator Michael Dowd on the air, sitting there trying to say that maybe because he said hateful words, he deserved it. He made some vague comment like that, and he made others. Fortunately, MSNBC shocked me last night. The same day he said it, they reacted, and he has been removed from the network. So as much as, hey, look, I don't like MSNBC, but we'll give them kudos when they get something right.
Now they just need to fire the rest of their staff. I mean, everybody there should be fired. That network should be off the air.
Well, they're rebranding soon, Jim. They're about to be called something else, which is, I can't remember it off the top, but it is
MS Now. It's MS Now.
MS Now. That's equally dumb.
Yep.
It's mainly because NBC wanted their initials removed from it.
Yep, absolutely.
But again, we're seeing story after story, and one story I found, Columbia University, they have a satirical newspaper called The Federalist. They published an article making fun of Charlie Kirk. The headline read, "Turning Point USA undergoes unexpected ideology shift. States Second Amendment actually not that important anymore." Very poor taste, no matter what your politics are. The fact that they put that out, and it may be satirical, but read the room. Yeah. Understand how poor of a class. You're showing no class in doing something like this. And the fact that they go further on and write an article talking about amendment in our propaganda, education, we decided to reconsider our stance on gun control and personal freedoms. The decision was made completely independently of recent events. Putting this stuff out just shows a hatred. Because again, you're essentially taking this moment to celebrate someone's death.
I'll go a step further. I don't think it's hatred. I think it's evil.
I agree.
I believe it's evil. I mean, I've tried to stop looking at it, but if you go on social media, there are people celebrating, dancing, basically in complete enjoyment of Charlie Kirk's death. And what kind of sick human being do you have to be to celebrate the death of a father of two young kids? I don't care what your ideology is. I would never celebrate the death of anybody on the left.
No,
it's just, it would be, I would think that God would damn you to hell immediately for that. And I think that's the problem. They don't believe in God.
I agree.
They don't believe there's anything after this life. If anything, they believe they are God. And it's a shame for them, because I wouldn't want to be them when they finally meet their maker like Charlie did.
We've got more of these examples, but I think we need to pause right here for a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk about a few more of these examples that I've found of the left celebrating the assassination of Charlie Kirk. This is Chris McDaniel's America here on the Midnight Ride Network, your home for the anti-establishment movement. We'll be right back.
Resort.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back here to Chris McDaniel's America. Again, if you're just tuning in on one of our live platforms, Chris is not with us today. We we know how much he tried to at least try to zoom in. Look forward to getting him back hopefully next week so he can, add to his thoughts on these occurrences. This show's been a little different in the fact that we're talking about some of the news stories, but we're having more of a conversation. Of course, I'm joined by Jim Cegelski, and Jim, we were talking before we went to break about some of these reactions from liberals. We just talked about one from a university. We've got a couple of others, and one right here in our home state of Mississippi where an Ole Miss executive staff member shared a post suggesting Charlie Kirk had it coming. Again, the same way we gave kudos to MSNBC, kudos to Ole Miss for making sure that this Lauren Stokes, who was the executive assistant to a vice chancellor for development, is now a former employee of the University of Mississippi. It's just pretty ridiculous that anybody would celebrate this. And I don't want to read the post. The post compared Charlie Kirk to a white supremacist and a reimagined Klan member is one of the things that it said. It just ridiculous that you see this and somewhere in your brain you think that this is the type of messaging that you think is okay to share. It's insulting. It's ridiculous, and you deserve to lose your job. And I'm glad that the University of Mississippi, Ole Miss, jumped in and handled this right away, and she's no longer employed there. So that is to me, I have, you want to say you have no sympathy for a man that lost his life? I don't have sympathy for someone that's willing to put out a post like this that is celebrating his death. I don't have any sympathy for you losing your job because you made a choice. Charlie Kirk didn't make a choice to get shot.
Jack, if we both work at the Laurel Leader Call, would we put up with someone on our staff who celebrated the death of even Joe Biden or anybody on the left, Eric Swalwell? I don't think any of us here would put up with one of our colleagues celebrating the death of anyone. It's sick, yes. First of all, evil as far as I'm concerned. And, I would fire that person. And I think you would bless that firing because it's something, you have to have something wrong with you to do that.
I hope that, and again, nowadays you can never know. I would hope that we wouldn't bring somebody on that would have that in their heart. But, sometimes people hide that from you. Sadly, academia, it seems to be prevalent because here's another story right here. Middle Tennessee State. A dean was fired over Charlie Kirk comments. So again, this is a dean, not just an assistant like what we just talked about before. This being and I'm trying to find the name, but I can't find it in the story. Maybe I got it cut off somewhere. But this person was fired, and thank goodness that this person, I think the name is Sosh Lightsley is the name. That looks like a crazy name, so that may have been what threw me off. And the post said, looks like old Charlie spoke his fate into existence. Hate begets hate, zero sympathy. Yeah,
I mean, I hate to say it, but there's thousands of examples out there. Like I said, I had to stop looking at them because we're already angry. We're already angry that this happened. Watching that stuff makes you even more angry. And it's, in some ways, I think we need to be angry.
Yes.
But I don't know that that's what Charlie would want.
It's definitely not what he'd want.
I mean, I think what we need to be is brave. Mm-hmm. More of us need to stand up for common sense. And that's all that Charlie did was stand up for common sense. It's all that Donald Trump does is stand up for common sense. And he's portrayed as a fascist and Hitler, and all of us are. And these people can't handle that. And that's why they do that to us. And by portraying us that way, it gives crazy people what they need to kill us.
Yeah.
And that's what needs to stop. But instead of backing or shying away or getting angry, we all need to be braver. There needs to be more of us speaking out for the truth. The majority of this country believes what Charlie Kirk was telling them. But Charlie Kirk was the only one brave enough to go on college campuses and say what needed to be said. Mm-hmm. There has to be more of us that just do it on a daily. You know, a lot of us are guilty. We'll see a Facebook post from a Facebook friend that we know is ridiculous, but we're scared to say anything or just refuse to. We just, if I say something, then it's going to be turned into a big long thing.
Must stay out of it.
It really is something where if all of us stood up and said something, if all conservatives, and this idea that we're extreme right wing is bull crap.
It is.
We're patriotic Americans that believe in common sense. That's all it is. And we can't let the media, the mainstream media, and they're not really mainstream, portray us as extreme anything. Heck, most of us could have been Kennedy Democrats. Mm-hmm. John F. Kennedy would be horrified at what this Democrat Party has become and what this country has become. So we have to all stand up together. Let's let Charlie Kirk live on through the fact that we're not scared to speak our mind, speak truth, and common sense.
And let's, again, and I'm glad to see some of these folks getting exposed and paying a price for it. I got one more before I move off because, there was a comic book writer that is transgender, worked for DC Comics. They do Superman, Batman. This Gretchen Feller Martin posted sickening that I hope the bullet's okay after touching Charlie Kirk. Well, apparently this person had a new comic book that was coming out that actually, I think the article said dropped today. It was going to be an entire series. Not only did they get rid of this writer, they've canceled the series now. So that's one thing I'm encouraged by, is because, again, comic books have become very, very infused with liberalism. I don't read them, but I have seen different breakdowns of
everything.
The stories.
Has movies, video games. It's all liberalism. I mean, I don't think you can watch anything anymore that doesn't at least have a gay person in it at this point. And I'm not against gay people. That's fine. But not everything has to have a gay person in it.
It doesn't have to be, again, it doesn't have to be driven down folks' throat. And it's, if we watch stuff, like if you're watching a sitcom or you're watching a drama series, you want it to reflect what you know. You don't want to, you're going to tune out on it if you see that that's not really the way folks act, or that's not the way that those cliques would be. So you're going to tune out. Hollywood hasn't gotten that for the last few years because they have to check certain diversity check boxes. They feel like, okay, we got to have X number of minorities. We got to have a gay person or two. Even when it doesn't fit the show or the dynamic that they're doing. That's nothing wrong with including a minority character or a gay character, but make sure that it makes sense in the story. Right. And they stopped even trying with that. They're just like, here he is.
And they've ruined entire franchises like Star Wars and stuff like that just because they want to force that stuff down people's throats.
It's crazy.
The other thing I want to ask you, Jack, is what has the right done to transgender people to justify killing us? I'm just curious. What have we actually done to transgender people to justify killing us?
The honest answer is nothing. Question their lifestyle choice, not say that they're born that way and call it a choice.
The only thing I could think of is we don't want males competing against women in sports. And we've stopped that from happening. But what else has actually happened to them? I don't know that anything has.
They have more rights now than they've ever had. And again, if you believe that it's a choice, if you believe that you are choosing to be a man that is choosing to be a female, what other choices get protections like they get?
Right.
And they're suggesting more protections. I'm against anyone trying to just attack someone because they decide to live their life a certain way. I'll go 100%, and I would condemn it from but at the same time, the left does not seem to have that same they don't seem to come out and condemn it the way that we do. Matter of fact, last night in the halls of Congress, there was a mere suggestion of a prayer being read out loud for Charlie Kirk and his family. And the Democrats on the floor audibly screamed no and booed. And it was disgusting because, again, it doesn't matter what you felt about the man. It doesn't matter what you feel about God in this instance. Human decency is getting thrown out the window. And that's part of our problem now, is we're witnessing just an erosion of human decency. And the left wants to, conservatives, when there's, like, you take the shooting that happened, I believe it was in Pennsylvania, where the Democrat lawman was killed and his wife was killed. Conservatives, they didn't condemn. I don't remember conservatives celebrating that. I do remember conservatives condemning it. I do remember conservatives coming out and saying it was horrible. I don't remember the celebrations. Maybe I missed it. It wasn't happening. Again, in this instance, they're way more than I care to point out. Jim's right. Doing show prep for this episode and going down that rabbit hole of hate was hard.
Yeah.
Even the little ones I pulled up, there were so many more I saw.
There's so many, it will drive you insane. That's why I stopped looking at them. And here's one thing. Here's reactions that really bothered me, and they weren't people celebrating. They were people extending fake sympathy. Joe Biden, Barack Obama came out and said this violence is unacceptable. These are the people that caused the violence. These are people that were calling us fascist, Nazis, racists. These are the people who inspired these people to kill us. So I don't accept what they say, and it pisses me off, to be honest. And it's not just those two. There's a whole bunch of people that came out and said, "Oh, we can't have political violence like this." The people that told people to get in our faces, people that put bullseyes on them. These are the people that are inspiring crazy people to kill us. And so you can't now go back and say, "Oh, this is unacceptable." You're the people that caused it in the first place.
We had a moment in time over a year ago. You know which one I'm talking about. And that was the first of 2 assassination attempts on Donald Trump. That was the time that the left should have realized that their rhetoric against us was sparking this type of violence, that it was encouraging these people. They were more worried about winning elections, because you remember they were saying all this stuff then. We got to dial back the political rhetoric. That lasted about a week.
I don't even know if it lasted a week, because I'm pretty sure Joe Biden came out and said put a bullseye on Donald Trump maybe after that first assassination attempt. But he called us garbage.
He did call us
after that. It didn't last at all. And this isn't going to last.
No.
I mean, people are not only out there celebrating, but Liz Warren today, when asked if they need to dial back the rhetoric, she said something to the effect, "Oh, are you kidding me? Why don't you tell that to the President of the United States?" And I'm like, What? What are you talking about? Donald Trump isn't out there calling for violence against the left. He's not calling them Nazis or fascists.
We have seen that because of their rhetoric, we've seen ICE agents target. We've seen politicians target. We've seen now political commentators killed as a result of these labels. Charlie Kirk was anything but a Nazi. Charlie Kirk was anything but. He was a man that believed in honest debate, and he was good at it. He was really good at it. He wasn't afraid to debate anyone, any place, any time. He went to the Lion's Den, a college campus. That is the Lion's Den for a conservative. And he went right on there and he debated with anyone who was willing to step up to that microphone, not knowing what they were going to talk about, what they were going to say, how they were going to act. And he was willing to sit down and debate them with a smile.
Right. And he was always polite about it. When people looked foolish, it wasn't because Charlie Kirk made them look foolish. It was because they themselves made themselves look foolish because they were talking nonsense. And I do believe that's why Charlie Kirk was killed, because if you can't debate somebody, how do you defeat them?
Yeah. And again, to your point about Barack Obama and all these others that have called Trump Nazi, called you and I Nazis for supporting him, you created this divide. It's cute now that you're giving us your sympathies, and I'm sure the Kirk family appreciates sympathies from anyone that are given to. Now prove it. You're not going to.
Right. They're going to go
right. The challenge is on them.
They're going to go right back to doing what they've been doing.
It might take longer than a week this time. It might take 2 weeks, a month, just because the end result was worse than what happened when there was an attempt on Trump's life. I mean, although, yes, Trump was spared, but there was still a life lost that day. And the left doesn't want to talk about the fact that that life was cost that day because of their vile rhetoric. They don't like to talk about that. So, I mean, maybe it won't. Maybe the fact that there was actually a loss of life won't, because it didn't then. Yes, Trump, like I said, Trump was spared, but there was a person killed that day. And I'm not talking about the would-be assassin. I'm talking about the brave father who shielded his family and took a bullet for him. It still infuriates me when I think about this stuff, because again, I may say that your opinion's crazy. I may say you're crazy, but I'm not going to sit here and just dehumanize you to the point and call you a Nazi and point out that you're the worst people imaginable. If something bad happened to a liberal commentator or a liberal politician, I'd be one of the first ones out there condemning the actions of whoever did it. And I would ask for the prayers. I would approve the spoken prayer that was requested in Congress for a liberal commentator. They couldn't have that same decency for Charlie Kirk. And it's just, again, Jim, you came, I know you were on after the time when the Democrats booed the little child cancer survivor. And this reminded me so much of that, because again, are you that inhuman that you just can't just put politics aside for 5 minutes for this moment? You have to make it about politics right then, because you didn't like or you don't like the person that's making the request. Either or is unacceptable at this time. This is the time that you have an opportunity to prove to us that you do want to dial down the rhetoric, and you couldn't even make it through the night.
Yeah, no, the reaction to this, and this goes back ever since Trump came down that escalator. Trump drove these people to a level of insanity where they're not humane anymore. They have no humanity whatsoever. It is all about defeating anything to do with Donald Trump and anybody who supports him. And they are to a point where, because Donald Trump is back in power, they are willing to kill us. And I have no doubt this is probably not going to be the last time that somebody gets hurt, because they're not going to stop calling us extremists. They're not going to stop calling us Nazis, fascists, racist, whatever they want to call us. And even when something like this does happen, they turn around and go, oh, this is because of right-wing extremism.
Yeah.
And how ridiculous is that? Jack,
yeah.
we can go back to that. How many years ago was Steve Scalise and the people shot on that baseball field? Since that time, almost every freaking incident of political violence has been left wing against right wing people.
Yeah.
It always is coming from the left. And they still want to portray it as, all these incidents are because of what Trump says or right wing extremism. Mm-hmm. That is complete bullcrap. We all know it is.
Scalise was 2017, I believe.
That's a lot of years ago.
Yeah. And again, you want to talk about things. Here's a list I found on Breitbart. Back in August 2011, the Family Research Council hit with a terrorist attack. So there you have a conservative group hit with a terrorist attack. 2016, Milo video producer attacked by communist student protester. So again, this is a communist protester attacking him at the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee. 2017, leftist terrorist shoots up GOP congressional baseball practice. That's the one with Steve Scalise that Jim just mentioned. November 2017, Senator Rand Paul attacked by his neighbor. Then you've got September 2018, GOP headquarters hit with an arson attack in Wyoming. We're not done, Jim. I'm still going.
You got Kavanaugh still in there.
I've got October 2018, 2 Minnesota Republican candidates assaulted. Now we're to May 2020. Rioters assault Breitbart reporter and another journalist outside of the White House. June 2022. 23 pro-life organizations vandalized, firebombed by pro-abortion activists in recent weeks. June of 2022, the same month, assassination attempted on Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh, the one that Jim just alluded to. We're still not done. Swimming star Riley Gaines assaulted by transgender mob at Turning Point USA event. We're still not done, Jim. 2024, this one you'll know from July. Bullet hits Donald Trump in the ear as would-be assassin aims for his head. September 2024, the second assassination attempt on Donald Trump. April 2025, arson attack on New Mexico GOP headquarters. April of 2025, Turning Point USA students assaulted at UC Davis. And of course, the last one they have is the one from yesterday.
It's an incredible list. And if you go the other direction on that, I mean, maybe you'll find one. Maybe there is a right-wing nut job who belongs in prison just like all these other people do. But 99% of these attacks are always coming from the left on the right, yet the left-wing Democrats, the media, they all want to portray that it's Donald Trump and his followers that are the cause of this. Donald Trump and his followers are regular America loving people. They love God, country, family. That's what the country was built on. That's what this country used to be. And all these people on the left now, they hate our country. And you can tell they hate it. They're miserable human beings. Yes. They're living miserable lives. I never want to be one. I never want to be on that side. They're God-hating. They're country-hating. And they want to destroy the country. They want to destroy us. And they got one of us yesterday.
And again, hopefully we're vigilant. Hopefully we're resolved in standing up, because again, you can't silence your voice. We lost one of our best and brightest voices yesterday. It's on us to keep going, no matter how big or small. As I said at the start, it's on us. Now, before we get out of here, Jim, I want to switch to the train stabbing there in North Carolina. It's, to me, this is such an avoidable story. If the guy had gotten the help that he needed, again, as we talked about before, if there had been a place to put him.
Well, there was a place to put him. It was jail.
Yeah, leave him in jail.
He had been arrested 14 previous times.
Yeah.
and he was out on cashless bail with a written promise to appear in court. And I mean, everybody.
How do you do a 14-time offense? How do you justify that as a judge?
And it wasn't like most of those charges were misdemeanors. He had armed robbery. He had, I believe, abuse of a child, and he had some violent crimes on there. And he was a known schizophrenic. And you know what? If there's not a place to put you that can get you mental help, then you need to be in jail so you don't hurt an innocent person. And he not only hurt an innocent person, he killed an innocent victim of the Ukrainian war. Somebody was trying to escape the violence in her own country to come to a place like the United States of America and then to be slaughtered. It's so shameful. And what's more shameful is the fact that a good part of the media wasn't going to cover the story.
No, they were burying it.
And the reason they weren't going to cover that story was because it was a black man killing a white girl. And the reason you know that, Jack, is because this was a Ukrainian refugee. Oh, my God, this was their dream story. If a white person had killed this girl, it would have been the biggest story since what? Daniel Penny? George Floyd?
Yeah.
And what was the difference in those stories? You had a white perpetrator and a black victim.
Mm-hmm.
So the only reason they didn't cover this is race. And they've been selling this lie that white supremacy is the big problem in the United States of America. Well, stats prove otherwise.
Yeah. There are stats. They don't want to talk about those stats.
Black people kill white people way more. Charlie
Kirk would put out those stats. I've heard him in videos point out those stats when confronted with this very topic. To me, it's one of those things, again, the media wanting to bury the story. You can blow up a story like the one we had with George Floyd that, again, horrible, whatever you may think of the incident. It wasn't something that necessarily had to be a national story to become a national reckoning, but the media saw an opportunity to plant more division.
Right.
I saw an interview the other day, and it was with late comedian Richard Pryor, and they were talking to him about race in America, and he said part of the problem is how much stuff the media continues to divide. Instead of ever talking about the stuff that we agree on, focus on everything we don't agree on. And that was part of the problem that he saw with the race relations. And I was like, this was an interview he probably gave in the 70s. And it's more true now because I think they're worse now than they were back in the 1970s. And it's just disgusting. We've got a woman that came over here from the Ukraine to escape those atrocities. She would have been better off staying over. She would have been safer staying over there. And that pains me to say because that shouldn't have been the case in what I still consider the greatest country in the world. Now, Jim, I know we're coming up close on the end of this show. Before the show, you and I poured a shot here that I
don't know that Charlie Kirk was a drinker, but I
don't think he was.
I am, and I would like to make a toast to a great American, Charlie Kirk.
I agree, Jim. Charlie, this one's for you. Guys, this has been Chris McDaniel's America here on the Midnight Ride Network, your home for the anti-establishment movement. We hope to have Chris back next week, so tune in again next week.
Looks like you've been sleeping well.
Megan, he's back. The My Pillow guy.
And you're looking good.
Still feeling good.
Well, just when you thought it couldn't get any better, we've got the best pillow ever, My Pillow 2.0.
Wow, it's so soft and smooth.
It's cool to the touch. How did you do that?
Well, we took My Pillow's patented fill and combined it with this new technology that we didn't have back then when I invented My Pillow to bring you the best pillow in history, My Pillow 2.0. Just like all of you, I never imagined that My Pillow could get any better. That's why I haven't changed it in nearly 20 years. Then I heard about a revolutionary new technology, and I knew I had to bring it to you all. MyPillow 2.0 is truly the next generation of MyPillow.
The MyPillow 2.0 is cooler and softer than the last MyPillow. It is so comfortable to sleep on at night. I look forward to going to bed, and I wake up well rested in the morning.
Sleep is all about temperature and height. MyPillow 2.0's patented adjustable fill is going to give you the exact individual support you need from your head to your bed. And now here's where it gets even better. We've all experienced those temperature-related sleep interruptions where you get too hot, you toss and turn, you flip your pillow over to the cool side. Well, all that's gone with my brand new MyPillow 2.0 cooling fabric that's made with temperature-regulating thread.
The best sleep just got even better. Whether you have a MyPillow or not, you need to get the brand new MyPillow 2.0. Call or go to MyPillow.com now. Use your promo code, and for a limited time when you buy one, you'll get a second one absolutely free.
You're sleeping even better.
And cooler, too.
And you're looking good.
Feeling good.
I knew you would.
Visit MyPillow.com.